Okay, bottom section by far is the hardest due to the fact they're going to make you switch gears on your thinking. Question number 21 says, -10 minus 47. Okay, we have been discussing you cannot subtract negatives. Who can raise their hand and tell me what's the monstrous big idea you have to remember when they say subtract negatives? Trevor, what do I have to do?
You have to switch the second number.
I'm going to add the second number's opposite. Now, the reason I can't subtract negatives is if I was allowed to subtract negatives, I would never pay a bill. I'd throw away every bill I have. Change this to adding the second number's opposite. Now, the key is, I saw people that struggle in the bottom section. They switched it to adding. Nothing else, though. Okay, there has to be something that counterbalances why I switched to adding. I'm switching the second number to its opposite. 10 wrong on the front of my sheet, 47 wrong on the back of my sheet. That's a horrible score. -57. Let's skip down. I'm going to kind of go out of order a little bit. Opposite signs. You were supposed to remember, subtract absolute values. Keep the sign of the larger absolute value. Now, other helpful hint, number 1133. When you do problems like this, it takes you 1 second to show your work and to line up your columns. I had some people do this. They did 3 minus 9, and they go out of order and they screw up an easy math fact. 9 minus 3 is 6. 2 minus 1 is 1. Keep the sign of the larger absolute value, -16. Number 25, a doozy. Number 25, add the opposite. Now, the reason I'm adding the opposite, anytime a negative shows up front or back in the subtracting, it has to be switched to addition. There are no rules for subtracting. We're not allowed to subtract. We add the second number's opposite. Now, 2 negatives. I'm going to ask you a dumb question in a second here, and I'm also going to show you what I do on this to remind myself. Who can raise their hand and tell me what's -32 and -44 when I add them? Max. Yep, and what do I get? -76. Okay, couple small things. 2 negatives aren't a positive. That's when I multiply, and that's why I've kind of pressed the brake till the end of the week here. Also, notice, I really emphasize 2 negatives here. I put it in my work. I put it in my work to remind me that it's in my answer. And I think it's a great technique so that you don't forget that later on. Go to question number 22. Slide it over. I had a boatload of people jump on this question and think to themselves, -29, +29. Cancel 0. No. You have to show your work of add the opposite. -29, -29, 18, carry a 1, -58. I'm assuming if I was to have you raise your hand and say, well, did he got it wrong? You told me it's 0. You jumped all over the idea of 29 and 29 cancel out. But you didn't show enough work of add the opposite, add the opposite, add the opposite. Oh, straight up butter question. The only way you're going to get it wrong is if you forget to show your work of adding your columns. 8 and 2, 10, carry your 1, 5, 6, 60. Let's go to 26. -12, -11, -12, -11. Those are like terms of negative values. You can add them. It's adding. I don't have to switch it. -23. Yeah, I gotta get some more class participation, so let's hear those wonderful voices. Now, 27. Who wants to tell me what did you do? Now, just because we add an extra number, don't go crazy. It's going to require 1 extra step of work. It's not a big deal. Crystal, what did you do?
I added the 2 and the 15. I got 17, and then I added 17.
And what'd you get? 21. Anybody do it a different way? Anybody do it like out of a different order? Trev?
I added 15 plus 4, and then I added 2.
19 and 2 give me 21. I kind of like to chicken pluck them and take little guys, put them together. 2 and 4 is 6. 15 and 6 is 21. Now, that only works if it's all adding. That's switching the order. We're talking about properties of when we're allowed to do that and when we're not allowed to do that. 29 is a beast. 29 is not allowed to be done in your head. You are going to cross, put your finger on this, don't look at it, add the opposite. 2 plus 9. 11. 11 minus 8. It's not negative. It's just 11 minus 8. Joe. 3. Now, if you want to write 11 minus 8 like that, I tell you, nobody gets it marked wrong because I showed too much work and I thought too hard. No. Show your work. It's a cool thing. Now, this one here, I'm going to do 2 different ways. I'm going to try to slow down my speaking. Yeah, what do you got?
On 29,
Yeah.
you didn't mark mine and set mine.
I'll take a look at it later on. And usually I don't ever take them off later on, but don't worry.
There's
Something you want to
another
correct.
victory to report today. Our quiz bowl was dominant in their contest.
Good report of my video.
They won 330 over Rogers 200. So way to go, quiz bowlers.
Okay, 28. Now, on question 28, I would really like if you guys have the ability to say 16 and 5 is 21. 16 and 5 is 21. I don't want to subtract absolute value, keep the sign of larger absolute value, subtract absolute value, keep the sign of larger absolute value. If you do go left to right on this, it's going to be just a little more work, so I'm going to pretend I'm you. That's fine. 16 and negative 13, add them up, become 16, 13, subtract absolute values, they get 3, keep the sign of larger absolute value, positive 3. 3 and 5 is 8. Now, I'm going to rewrite that. I'm going to write 16 plus a negative 13 plus 5. Me, I would have done 5 and 21. 5 and 16 is 21. Stack that right there. Opposite signs. 8, keep 21. Still the same thing. Now, the last question. Before you are allowed to even put any work on this question, it needs to be changed. You should be seeing this first. That's highly illegal in any normal mathematical society. Subtracting negatives, you can't do that. You need to change this to add the opposite. No, it's not add a negative, it's not add a positive. If you're saying it correctly, thinking it correctly, it's add the second number's opposite. Now, I like to go 3 and 8 is 11, 11, 10, 21. You guys might be doing 10 and 3, 13.
Excuse
13
this
and
interruption,
21.
junior high, ninth grade teacher.
I got 21.
There's been a change in the date for the